Normally when the preseason hits, all junglers collectively sigh as typically a laundry list of jungle changes are on their way. However, this season was different as for the first time Riot only implemented one single jungle change. And on the surface, it may not seem like a big deal, but trust me, it is. The change we're talking about is the first Rift Scuttle will now have 35% reduced health, grants 80% reduced XP, and has been slightly reduced in size to match its lower value. Now, the change that should be making your jungle senses tingle is the 80% reduced XP, as this is massive. To put this into perspective, you would get 187 experience from the Scuttle prior to this change. Now, you only get 85, a loss of 102 XP. All you have to do is take a look at how much experience you get from each camp in your opening route to realize just how worthless the Rift Scuttler is now. And sure, looking at all these numbers are cool and all, but what does this actually mean in a real game of League of Legends? Well, let me show you. One of the most popular routes prior to the preseason patch was what's called a 5 camp. If you started blue, you would do blue, Gromp, Wolves into Raptors and Red Buff. A total of 5 camps, now you know where it got its name from. At the end of this route, the nearby Scuttle would be spawning and it would give just enough experience for you to hit level 4 once you killed it. However, now that the first Scuttle only gives 85 XP in the preseason, you no longer hit level 4 using this route. In fact, you won't even be close, needing another 70 XP. And so this 5 camp route really got hard nerfed from this change. There was also one other route players would use called a 4 camp. If you started blue, you would do blue, Gromp, Wolves, skip your Raptors and do your red, and you guessed it, it's a total of 4 camps. The point of skipping your Raptors in this route was in order to get a faster gank. And often this combination of a successful gank and soaking lane minions after meant that you would again have enough experience to hit level 4 off the nearby Scuttle that would spawn. But again, that's no longer the case with the preseason change. And so both 4 and 5 camp routes are significantly weaker. Now, I'm sure many of you haven't memorized every possible route in the game, but essentially most opening jungle routes operate on a spectrum. On the left, we have the most aggressive routes where you get the fastest level 3 possible to impact the map early, and on the right, you have the more passive routes where you look to farm. Well, the 4 and 5 camp routes fall somewhere in the middle. And so you now know that since 4 and 5 camp routes no longer hit level 4 off the Scuttle, it means they're much weaker. But what you really need to understand is that it indirectly buffs the fast level 3 and full clear, the more extreme routes on the spectrum. And so it's these 2 routes we'll be going over in this guide, starting with the fast level 3. The most popular version of this route is to do red, Raptors into Gromp. Now, there are 3 main strengths to doing this route. First, you can hit level 3 before 2 minutes and 30 seconds, one of the fastest level 3s in the game. Secondly, it's very safe, as since you're pathing to your Gromp so fast, it will protect you from any kind of early invades, counter jungling, or cheese from the enemy jungler. And third, despite being so aggressive with your fast level 3 spike, as well as the safety it provides, it's also extremely versatile. For example, if you decide there's no gank available after you finish killing your Gromp, you can then just do your blue buff. If no gank is available after your blue, you can do your Wolves. And you guessed it, if no gank is available after Wolves, you can then move to the Scuttle. This is why this route is so strong. You can hit one of the earliest level 3s in the game, giving you great gank opportunities while stopping any early cheese invades. Alright, so enough overview, let's jump into some real game examples taken from the top ranked challenger junglers in the world to break it down into more detail. So here's a challenger Sejuani who has chosen to start at red buff. If we look at the top lane matchup, we can see it's Camille against Fiora, a very volatile matchup that we want to influence early. We also spot the enemy Fiora appear top early on, indicating the enemy jungler is starting at their blue, getting a leash from their bot lane. That lets us know that the enemy jungler is also pathing topside with us. This is why we want to opt into the fast level 3 route. We want to get topside as fast as we can to influence that important matchup before the enemy jungler. So the Sejuani does red, then Raptors, then Gromp, and hits level 3 at 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Insane. This gives her a gank topside, which I should mention, this is a top ranked challenger game. In your games, often this just won't be warded and you'll get a free kill. She then sweeps the ward to clear vision, then waits to re-gank since Fiora's wave is pushed. Notice how as the second gank comes in, the Scuttle in the river still hasn't spawned. This is how insanely strong this route can be at putting down early pressure. Alright, let's move into another example to break it down into more detail. Here's a Zed jungle that starts at red. Afterwards, he then does Raptors. Now, some of you are probably wondering, why do we even do Raptors in this route? Why not do Wolves or Blue instead, and then just do the Gromp after as normal? What exactly is so special about the Raptors? And that is a great question. Here's the thing, there are 2 main benefits to killing our Raptors in this route. First is that it means when we head to our blue side jungle, all of our camps will be up. This is actually pretty important, since if we don't have a gank after our Gromp, we can do our blue but stay on that side of the map. Then after our blue, if there's no gank, we could do our wolves, again staying on that side of the map. What this means is that after killing our Gromp, we essentially have 2 waiting moves, where we can take our blue and wolves while still hovering on this side of the map. After which, we can then decide whether we want to stay on this side and gank or take the nearby scuttle, or just pivot to the other side of the map to try and take the scuttle there. The second benefit to taking raptors is a bit more advanced, but essentially if the enemy starts on the opposite side as you, they won't be able to steal your raptors at the end of their route since you had killed them already. Compare this to leaving them up and doing something like red wolves into Gromp. You'll soon realize that your raptors become vulnerable to being counter-jungled since you won't be on that side of the map to defend them. Great, so now that you understand why we do raptors, I bet a lot of you are still wondering why we do Gromp next instead of the blue buff. In this case, it's much simpler. The Gromp is just faster to kill than the blue buff, we take less damage from it, and it will heal us for more health after killing it. All of that while still giving it enough XP to hit level 3, so it's really a no-brainer to do Gromp instead of blue. And yes, I know there's one Trundle main out there who's saying, hey, what about me? My champion sucks at doing raptors at level 2, what am I supposed to do? And if you're one of those very few champions that struggle to do red into raptors because their raptor clear is just that bad, like Trundle or Warwick, single target type champions, then the variation you want to do instead is red into blue into Gromp. You won't get the benefits we listed above that comes with doing raptors, but you'll still get one of the fastest level 3s in the game, protect yourself from early invades, and still be relatively versatile. Alright, so now that you understand how to execute this route and why to do it, let's go over when to do it. You'll want to execute this route under 2 conditions. First, you identify that the lane you're pathing towards is volatile or has high gank potential, or for whatever reason just needs to be ganked early on. This route will let you hit level 3 extremely fast, and so that will throw the laner's timer off and just give you a ton of time to influence that lane. The second situation to use this route is when you identify the enemy jungler started on the same side as you. Since that means you'll often clash on the other side of the map you're pathing towards, you want to get there faster than them since you can gank earlier, possibly invade them. It just gives you a ton of options. And thirdly, I should mention, you pretty much can't go wrong with this route. It's very strong, safe, and consistent, so even in situations where it may not be the most ideal choice, it's almost never the outright wrong choice. So when in doubt, if you feel confused, you can always just default to this route and you'll usually be in good hands. So to quickly recap, you do red, raptors into Gromp. You can then look for ganks and plays on the map at that point. If there are none, just do your blue and then reevaluate again. If there is nothing, you can then do your wolves and once again reevaluate, at which point you decide whether to stay on that side of the map to go for the nearby scuttle or transition to the other side to go for the scuttle there. And if you want to learn more about this fast level 3 route, we actually have a companion guide at SkillCapped.com, where a challenger expert goes much more in depth with real game examples explaining the nuances along with high level tips. Or maybe you're wondering if the champion you play can even execute this route. Well, we got you covered as we have a quick start guide listing the recommended routes for every jungle champion in the game. To unlock this complete course on meta jungle routes, head to skillcapped.com, link in the description below. Moving on to the other end of the spectrum, the full clear. The full clear was probably the easiest route to understand why and when to do it prior to the preseason patch. The reason why we full cleared is because you'll be level 4 after killing your final camp, meaning you'll be a level ahead of the enemy jungler when going for the scuttle. As for when you would do it, if you could finish full clearing before the 315 mark, you pretty much always wanted to full clear since you'll be an entire level up at the scuttle fight. The thing is though, very few champions have that fast of clear speed to full clear by the 315 mark. And so typically, the route was reserved for the few champions that could, like Hecarim. However, now with the first scuttle giving significantly less XP and preventing you from hitting level 4 when you execute a 5 camp, it makes the full clear much more viable on champions that it previously wasn't. Let me show you what we mean. Prior to the preseason, almost every Lilia would do a 5 camp, such as blue, Gromp, wolves, raptors, and red. They would then finish this 5 camp pretty early, around 2 minutes and 55 seconds. This would then allow them to gank nearby lanes for about 20 seconds until the scuttle spawned and then take that for their level 4. However, you now no longer hit level 4 off that first scuttle, and so when Lilia finishes her 5 camp, it's much more tempting to just finish the Krugs immediately after her red in order to hit level 4, which would be a full clear. And this isn't just specific to Lilia. Essentially all champions that would do a 5 camp on the previous patch will find it much more tempting to just do a full clear instead, as that's the new way to guarantee a fast level 4. I mean, just think about it. If you do blue, Gromp, wolves, raptors, and red, why risk going for that nearby scuttle that's only going to give you 85 XP and you'll still be level 3? Compare that to the Krug camp that's safer to take and guarantees level 4. Same thing if you started at red and do red, Krugs, raptors, wolves, and blue, which is a 5 camp. Why even risk going for the nearby scuttle that keeps you at level 3 when you can take the safer Gromp that actually gets you level 4? And so you can start to see how much stronger the full clear now becomes in the preseason. Okay, so we've gone into a lot of detail here, but what does this all really mean? Well, firstly, since it's much slower to hit level 4 now, this massively buffs strong level 3 junglers, as most junglers will be sitting on level 3 much longer than before. Think of champions like Xin Zhao, Kindred, and Trundle, just absolute beasts at level 3. At the same time, it means champions that can full clear extremely fast will be insanely strong, as they will have that level 4 lead on the enemy jungler for much longer than before. These are champions like Hecarim, Kayn, and Karthus. Essentially, champions that relied on their versatility and fell more in the middle have become weaker, while champions with really strong level 3s, or they can farm fast level 4s, they've become much stronger. And as a reminder, this guide was only a taste of our comprehensive and complete jungle route course found at our website, SkillCapped.com. Other routes, such as the red side level 3 and full clear, can be found there, along with companion guides where a challenger expert breaks down every route in detail, giving you high-level tips you won't find anywhere else. Alright, so what champions do you think are going to become overpowered due to this change? My personal vote is for Hecarim. I think he's going to be running through games like nobody's business, but what do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section below. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching all the way until the end, and we'll catch you in the next one.